I've been working the night shift at Mel's Diner for about 8 months now. It's one of those old, independent places off Route 9, the kind with cracked vinyl booths and fluorescent lights that buzz just loud enough to notice when it's dead quiet. The pay isn't great, but it works with my classes. And honestly, most nights are so slow I can get through half a textbook between customers. The thing about working overnight is you get used to weird. You know what I mean? Truckers coming off long hauls, insomniacs killing time, the occasional drunk couple sobering up after the bars close. I've seen people eat breakfast at midnight and order burgers at 6 a.m. After a while, nothing really surprises you. Or at least, I thought nothing could. It started about 3 months ago, maybe late November. I remember because we still had those paper turkey decorations up that the day shift had put up for Thanksgiving. It was a Tuesday, I think. Tuesdays are the worst because even the usual weirdos stay home. I was wiping down the counter for the third time that hour when the door chimed. 3:17 a.m. I glanced at the clock above the register out of habit. The guy who walked in was normal. That's what I remember thinking. Mid-40s maybe, wearing a gray windbreaker and jeans, thinning hair, regular build, the kind of person you'd forget about 5 minutes after they left. He sat in booth 7, the one by the window that looks out at the empty parking lot. "Coffee and a slice of apple pie," he said when I came over. "Warmed up, no ice cream." "You got it," I said. The whole interaction took maybe 2 minutes. He ate slowly, left a decent tip, and walked out. I didn't think about it again. But then he came back. Same time the next week, 3:17 a.m. almost to the minute. Same booth, same order. After the third time, I mentioned it to my manager, Dave. He shrugged. "We get regulars," he said. "At least he tips." The thing is, though, I started paying attention. You do that when you're bored, right? You notice patterns. And this guy, he was like clockwork. Every Tuesday, 3:17 a.m. exactly. He'd sit in booth 7, order coffee and a slice of apple pie, warmed up, no ice cream. He'd eat for exactly 20 minutes, then leave. I started timing it on my phone after the 5th or 6th visit. 20 minutes, every single time. "Doesn't he ever get sick of apple pie?" my coworker Marissa asked one night. She sometimes covered when I needed to switch shifts. "Guess not," I said. But here's where it started getting weird. It was probably 2 months in when I realized something. We only make apple pie on Mondays and Thursdays. Our supplier delivers fruit on Mondays, and Jenny, the day shift baker, makes the pies fresh those mornings. By Tuesday night, we're usually out. I know because I've had to tell disappointed customers we're out of apple pie literally dozens of times. But we always had a slice for him. I started checking the pie case before he arrived. Empty, every time. And then he'd order, and I'd turn to get it, and there it would be. One perfect slice of apple pie in the case, like it had materialized out of thin air. I checked my phone. The photo from 15 minutes ago clearly showed an empty case. I served him anyway. I mean, what else was I going to do? My stomach felt weird, kind of hollow and cold, but I kept my voice normal. "Here you go. Anything else?" "No, thank you," he said. He never really looked at me. His eyes always seemed focused on something past my shoulder. I watched him from behind the counter. He ate the same way every time. Methodical. Cut the pie into 6 even pieces with his fork, ate them left to right, drank the coffee in 3 separate sessions, perfectly timed between bites. It was like watching a machine. 20 minutes later, he stood up, left $7 on the table, and walked out. I checked the pie case as soon as he left. Empty again. "Marissa," I said when she came in for her shift at 6 a.m., "do we have any apple pie?" She checked. "Nope, won't have any until Jenny bakes Thursday morning. Why?" I didn't answer. The next Tuesday, I tried something different. At 3:15 a.m., I put a note on booth 7's table. Booth closed for cleaning. I watched the clock. 3:17 came and went. No chime, no customer. I felt relieved and freaked out at the same time. See, part of me wanted to believe I'd been imagining things, that the stress of juggling work and school was making me see patterns that weren't there. But this proved something was definitely wrong. Normal people don't just not show up because of a cleaning sign. They sit somewhere else. The following Tuesday, I removed the sign. 3:17 a.m. Door chime. Booth 7. Coffee and a slice of apple pie. Warmed up, no ice cream. This time, I really looked at him. I mean, really looked. And that's when I noticed his hands. They were wrong. Not obviously wrong, but the proportions were slightly off. The fingers too long, maybe, or the palms too narrow. And his skin had this waxy quality under the fluorescent lights, like plastic or clay. When he picked up his fork, his movements were too smooth. No hesitation, no natural human irregularity, just perfect mechanical precision. "Sir," I said, my voice coming out higher than I wanted, "can I ask you something?" He didn't look up. "No, thank you." The same words he always said when I asked if he needed anything else, like a recording playing back. I walked back to the counter. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I pretended to wipe down the coffee station, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. The few other customers we had, a trucker in booth 3 and a woman doing paperwork in booth 1, didn't seem to notice anything wrong. They couldn't see what I was seeing. I pulled out my phone and Googled booth 7's position in the diner. Then I looked up the property history of the building. The Wi-Fi was slow, and I kept glancing up to make sure he was still just sitting there eating his pie in those perfect mechanical movements. It took me a while to find it, buried in a local news archive from 1987. The diner used to be called Martha's before Mel bought it and changed the name. There'd been an incident. A customer, Harold Kemp, had been sitting in the booth by the window, probably booth 7, when he had a heart attack. The ambulance took too long. He died right there at 3:37 a.m. with a half-eaten slice of apple pie. The article included a photo. I zoomed in on Harold Kemp's face. It was him, the Tuesday regular. Same face, same build, except the photo was from 1987, and the man in my diner didn't look a day over 45. I don't know what I did next, exactly. I remember feeling dizzy, gripping the counter. When I looked up, he was staring directly at me for the first time ever. Not past me, at me. His eyes were completely black. Not dark brown, not dilated pupils, black. Solid black, like someone had filled them in with a marker. "Thank you for the pie," he said. His mouth didn't quite match the words, like the sound was coming from somewhere else, and his lips were just approximating the movements. I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. He stood up, checked his watch, an old analog thing that had stopped at 3:37, left $7 on the table, and walked toward the door. But he didn't walk through it. He walked to it, and then he just faded. Like a photograph left in the sun, his edges got blurry and indistinct, and then he was gone. The door never opened, never chimed. I stood there for I don't know how long. Eventually, I walked over to booth 7. The coffee cup was there, still warm. The plate was there, crumbs from the pie. The $7 in mixed bills and coins. All of it real. All of it physical. I picked up the money with shaking hands and put it in the register. What else was I supposed to do? When Dave came in at 8 a.m., I told him I was sick and needed to go home early. He took one look at my face and didn't argue. I didn't work the next Tuesday. Called in sick. Marissa covered my shift. "Anything weird happen?" I texted her Wednesday morning. "Dead night, only had like 3 customers total." "Anyone come in around 3 a.m.? "Nope. Why?" I didn't answer. I went back the following Tuesday. I needed the money, and part of me needed to know. At 3 a.m., I checked the pie case. Empty. I took another photo. At 3:15, still empty. At 3:17, the door chimed. He sat in booth 7. I walked on autopilot. Coffee and a slice of apple pie. Warmed up, no ice cream. This time, when I turned around, I watched it happen. The pie case was empty 1 second, and then it wasn't. The slice just appeared, like reality glitched and corrected itself. I served him. He ate. 20 minutes later, he left $7 and faded through the door. It's been 6 weeks since then. He comes every Tuesday. Same time, same order, same routine. I've stopped trying to understand it. I just serve him and try not to look at his eyes. But here's the thing that really scares me. Last week, I noticed something new. When he cuts his pie into 6 pieces and eats them left to right, he's getting slower. Just by a few seconds, but it's noticeable if you're watching closely. And the pie itself, it's starting to look different, more brown around the edges, older. I looked up Harold Kemp again. He died at 3:37 a.m., 20 minutes after 3:17. I think he's been eating that same slice of pie for 37 years, over and over, and I think it's almost gone. I don't know what happens when he finishes it. I don't know if he'll fade away for good or if something worse will happen. Maybe he'll realize he's been dead for decades. Maybe he'll realize I can see him. I've started looking for other jobs, but everywhere pays less and the hours don't work with school. So I'm still here, still working Tuesdays, still serving coffee and pie to a dead man at 3:17 a.m. If you ever work night shift at a diner, or any 24-hour place really, pay attention to your regulars. Notice if they're too regular. Check if their orders make sense. Take photos, document things. Trust your gut when something feels off. And whatever you do, don't ask them questions. Don't look too closely at their hands, and for God's sake, don't look them in the eyes. Some customers are just passing through. Others never left.